Почитувани гледачи, ви посакувам добре дојде во ова специјално издание на емисијата 24 за животот, каде што ќе разговараме за општествената одговорност, особено за она корпоративната или каде што кај нас би можеле да кажеме општествена одговорност на компаниите. Се наметнува многу често како тема во последниот период општествената одговорност, особено во бизнис круговите, но и спомнувајќи ја низ медиумите, во извештаите на новинарите, во економските вести, се поставува и прашањето што е тоа општествена одговорност. Верувајте ми, имате особена чест и задоволство ќе треба да ви биде она што ќе го слушнете од овие следни 25 минути на 24 за животот, каде што директно од заменик директорката на Бизнис во заедницата или Бизнис in the Community од Северна Ирска ќе можете да слушнете, која што впрочем има и докторат токму на оваа тема, ќе можете да слушнете што тоа представува корпоративна општествена одговорност. И ќе ви го презентираме интервјуто токму со Лиса Мекилвена. Исто така, во текот на емисијата ќе направиме и краток разговор заедно со Никица Кусиникова од Здруженијето Конект, која што исто така ќе зборува за тоа што представува Здруженијето Конект, но и што е она поради која е дојдена Лиса Мекилвена. Уживајте. Одиме веднаш со интервјуто со гостинката од Северна Ирска. Во тој сегмент би сакал само да ја запрашам. Господи Мекилвена, ќе можете ли само да ни објасните што всушност представува општествената одговорност?
Good question, because there are that many different definitions out there that it's pretty confusing actually. But I like to think about it as how an organisation makes its money rather than what they do with their money once it's made. And it's really about how they integrate responsibility into their practices. So how they treat their current workforce, how they operate towards the planet, how they operate towards their communities, and it's really about trying to integrate responsibility into the way that they operate day to day as a business.
Добро, во тој случај ме интересира, например, доколку треба да му објасните на 6-годишно дете што значи тоа корпоративна општествена одговорност, како тоа ќе му го објасните?
Not bad.
Good answer. I like it. Каде ги гледате тука граѓаните? Зошто треба тие да се засегнати за тоа дали некоја компанија е општествено одговорна, да речеме?
I think if you think about it from a number of different ways, as a consumer, I think most people, perhaps not all, but most people want to know that the products or services that they're using haven't damaged someone or something in the process of making their way to the final market. But I think as employer or employees, and as employers too, but as employees, we would much rather work for an organisation that we know is going to treat us well and is going to be good to the local community. And then just as general citizens, it's much more important for us to work in a community where organisations are being responsible rather than not. I suppose the easy way to think about it is, what's the alternative? If they're not responsible and they opt for irresponsible instead, then the ramifications of that are quite sizable and can have a big impact on our daily lives. So it's really about trying to make sure that good is the normal type of activity.
So practically, citizens would like to work much more with a corporation that is responsible,
Yeah.
and working for them if they're responsible, or the other way.
Working for them if they're responsible. So I suppose if I talk about in the UK context, where we're seeing a lot of organisations that are adopting this CSR approach, but for them it is a big part of making themselves attractive to employees and attracting the best type of people and ensuring that employees want to work for them. So even myself as an employer, I'm getting asked, well, what are you doing? What are you doing that's good? How do I know that I'm working for an organisation that not only is a very successful organisation, but is doing it in a responsible, good way?
Како компаниите можат да имаат придобивки, например, од примера на општествено одговорни практики? Може ли да споделите и неколку совети, например?
So there are lots of different ways that organisations benefit, and really it's all about making sure that what they're doing is integrated into their daily operations and that there's a win for society or environment as well as for the business. It has to make sense for both. It cannot be a business giving lots and getting nothing back in return. Otherwise, they're going to stop doing it whenever times get tough. So things that we see that are very successful are environmental initiatives, for example, where businesses are really looking to cut the amount of material they're using, cut the amount of water, electricity, etc. that they're using, and that has a very straight impact on the bottom line. But there are other more innovative ways that organisations are being responsible, that's helping them as a business. For example, today I shared an instance of an organisation at home who has helped their employees take more responsibility for their health. So they go through health checks, they help them eat healthily, exercise and so on. But what that has done has cut £1 million from their insurance costs for the workplace, because the insurer is seeing the employees taking more responsibility for their health, so therefore they're less risk. So it's good for the employee, but it's also good for the business.
Yeah, but does it always need to be the CSR to be made public, for example, or is it okay only if your employers know it?
Do you mean, yes, so
publicly, to acclaim it publicly?
It depends on the activity. For a lot of the activity that we would see happening with our member organisations in Northern Ireland, it is very much internal. So the environmental initiatives, the employee engagement development, that's all very much internal, and they keep it internal because that's where they get the benefit back as well. They don't need the public, etc. to know. However, from a community perspective, if an organisation is engaging in some type of community activity, it's often helpful for the wider community to understand and appreciate what the organisation is doing to try and help its local community. So in that case, it can be very good to tell the story. And I think by celebrating the story, celebrating good successes, for example, encourages other organisations to follow suit, and can mean in the longer run that the organisation is more likely to do something again. There's a fine balance though. It's the balance between telling someone that you did good and blatant advertising and spending more on telling the story than you did on the actual activity itself. And that's where companies have to be very careful. They have to be genuine.
Because you have a PhD of corporate social responsibility by seeing your CV here from the Queen's University of Belfast.
Yes.
Can you give some advices, for example, from maybe for the companies that want to do some corporate social responsibility and maybe they're watching this TV? A little advices.
Okay. So very briefly, it's about the win-win.
Okay.
It's about making sure that as a business you're tackling an issue that is important to society or the environment, but also in a way impacts on you positively as an organisation. So for example, it may be through trying to help long-term unemployed people get ready back for the world of work, so that whenever they are able to come into the world of work, they think of you as the ideal employer, for example. It's about the win-win and making sure that you communicate regularly, that you put measurements and monitoring devices in place so that you can be sure not only it's good for you as a business, but that it's having the impact in society that you want it to. Often as businesses we think just about ourselves, but if it's true corporate social responsibility, you have to be sure that you're having a positive impact on the community as well.
Кажете ми во тој случај, дали е реално компаниите да развиваат општествено одговорни проекти во време кога се борат со ликвидност и имаат проблеми повремено со наплата, да речеме, на нивните средства?
The first responsibility, I think, of businesses is to stay in business.
Yes.
You know, they have to, and it sounds really simple, but I think sometimes we can get very idealistic about what CSR can achieve, where actually the first responsibility is to remain in business, to remain as an employer. That's very important for our local community, is to have an employer there, for someone to provide them with an income, to pay your taxes, to do your paperwork, whatever it might be. That's critical, and that has to be in place before we start looking to these other responsibility issues. So yes, sometimes there's a balance. However, I think if they begin from the very beginning about thinking how they're running their business and integrating responsibility into that throughout, then they should be constantly thinking about responsibility rather than it being a nice project that you do once everything else is going well.
Колку проектите за корпоративна општествена одговорност се поголема реклама отколку платените реклами низ медиумите?
It's an interesting perspective. I think some companies would really want it to be like that. And for some organisations it is. It can be, you know, I work with a lot of financial institutions at home, and they are in a lot of trouble for their reputation at the moment. And they know actually to take out a paid advertisement to tell everyone how great they are isn't effective. It just results in cynicism. However, to do a genuine CSR activity in the local community is starting to build their trust. The key there though is being genuine. So for those organisations, absolutely CSR is a very good advertisement. The motive behind it And the way that they talk about it, though, again, has to be very carefully balanced, because there's a danger of greenwashing, of trying to sell everyone how great you are, whenever actually the activity behind it mightn't be as good as it possibly could be.
By your experience so far, do you think that the employers or the citizens also can see what is a genuine CSR and what is only a CSR made for just a commercial for the firm?
Often you can, and I think we like getting drawn into the motive behind the activity, whereas we have to also bear in mind, well, what impact is the activity having? You know, if you could take two organisations hypothetically who could engage in the same activity with the same outcome, but potentially their motives are slightly different. One wants to do it because they want a bit of profile, the other wants to do it because they feel that it's the right thing to do. But if the subsequent activity and the outcome is the same, then part of me thinks, who am I to judge? You know, and we have to be careful about that. I think it's easy to get very cynical about businesses. But yes, research shows that consumers can tell whenever something is genuine and whenever it is not. And generally, if a company all of a sudden starts to talk a lot about being responsible and puts a lot of money into it, people are going to get cynical. So with this type of thing, it takes a long time to build up the momentum, the culture, and to get the balance right.
Кога зборуваме за општествена одговорност на компаниите, во исто време тоа значи дека зборуваме дека тие компании можеби имаат и повисок економски стандард или имаат поголема моќ, се разбира, за разлика од останатите. Но може ли да се направи, да речеме, дистинкција кога станува збор за реален проект за општествена одговорност, а кога зборуваме само за проект за општествена одговорност кој што е направен само поради престиж на компанијата?
But you're thinking about the powerful companies versus the less powerful?
Yes.
I suppose there's a saying, with great power comes great responsibility, and those organisations that are more powerful certainly can have a much stronger positive effect on society, the exact same way that they can have a very damaging effect if they decide to be irresponsible. So certainly there is an obligation with large organisations, and you see larger organisations having more coordinating CSR departments and so on. But what's really interesting, and actually, without getting into a PhD thesis, but what was interesting as part of that was that the organisations that also do it very well are the small organisations that have done this naturally as part of the way that they're founded. They're usually family founded, they have very strong values about what they want to achieve. So we're seeing that they can engage in very real tangible projects as well. They just don't necessarily talk about it or report on it the same way as a large organisation would, but the value of their activity is still very important.
Дали општествената одговорност на претпријатијата треба да произлегува директно од компаниите? Потребна ли им е експертска помош, да речеме?
It's often a balance of both. A company will be very clear on what it is, well, usually very clear on what it is that they would like to do or what they think that they should do. But often they will just assume that a societal issue or environmental issue, for example, is at face value a certain issue. But where the expert can help is that they give a real sense of where the need really is within society, so that they're much more in tune with what's going on and the societal needs, and they're much I suppose they're coming at it neutral to be able to advise organisations and the NGOs, the civil society organisations, on the best balance between what they're both seeking from the relationship.
What's in your head? You just dancing over there like without a care. You're looking good, you know you do. Your whole crew got that old.
You can bring me the boy. You can bring me the boy.
Écrivez.
Никола, што си се заклучил?
Народот не разбира и не треба да разбира.
Ја запали шолјата.
Уапси Лазаревски.
Може ли туку така да уапсат министер?
Блокмакс ефикасен при различни типови болка. Од алкалоид.
Конект е непрофитна организација чија што примерно цел е да промовира и поттикнува општествена одговорност и филантропија. Тоа го правиме на повеќе начини, значи работиме директно со граѓаните и со компаниите, особено со бизнис секторот, ги советуваме како стратешки да инвестираат во заедниците, како да ги осмислат своите проекти за општествена одговорност, така што да тоа биде позитивно искуство и да ја даде позитивни резултати и за компанијата, и за самите заедници во кои што компаниите работат. Од друга страна, работиме доста на промовирање на поттикнувачко законско обкружување. Значи, да компаниите и граѓаните кои што донираат и вложуваат во заедницата добијат даночни бенефиции за тоа, да тоа биде препознаено од страна на јавноста. Доста работиме на едукација на јавноста, да ги препознае компаниите кои што интегрираат општествена одговорност, да ги препознае и како клиент, меѓутоа и како дел од заедницата во која што живеат. И секако работиме со здруженијата. Она што е една од нашите примерни цели е да промовираме партнерства помеѓу бизнис секторот и граѓанскиот сектор. Затоа што многу често и двата сектори прават многу добри работи, меѓутоа не доволно комуницираат и соработуваат помеѓу себе. Ние сметаме дека граѓанските организации се природен партнер за бизнис секторот и се трудиме да ги поврзуваме за да изградат едни долгорочни партнерства. Во текот на нашето работење секогаш се трудиме да донесеме нови свежи идеи од соработници, организации со кои што долго време го работат тоа. Со Бизнис in the Community од Северна Ирска долго време имаме комуникација и соработка и свативме дека нивните практики во Северна Ирска и контекстот во кој што тие работат е многу сличен со нашиот контекст. И дека тоа нешто они поминуваат и го спроведуваат е многу релевантно и за Македонија и дека би можеле да бидат голема инспирација и од корист како за компаниите, така и за останатите организации и актери во Македонија. Поради тоа и обезбедивме поддршка од Американската амбасада во Република Македонија и благодариме многу на поддршката да ја донесеме господја Лиса Мекилвена да го сподели своето искуство и знаење прво со бизнис секторот, со студентите, со граѓанските организации, меѓутоа и со пошироката јавност. Тие настани се за различни целни групи во различни денови.
Имавте и работилница за македонските бизнисмени, членки на Амчам. Какви се, впрочем, впечатоците од средбата ваша со нив?
Well, a full room, which is always good. Fantastic. We really
That's
had
a good sign.
Is it a good sign? Okay, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes.
But they, what I noticed, quite a few things, a real range of industries, which is really interesting, a real range of people coming from different backgrounds, and a real enthusiasm to do something positive in their local community and to ensure that their businesses have a very positive footprint here. And I think that's a real testament. You know, it can be a real challenge to get businesses bought into this issue, but it's clear the likes of Konekt, the Embassy, Amcham and so on are doing good work there because we had a lot of enthusiastic people with lots of ideas in the audience today.
Може ли да ни дадете успешни примери за соработка помеѓу бизнисите и граѓанскиот сектор?
Yeah, there are quite a few different examples. You know, one would be, and I think I spoke about it earlier, about a charitable partnership that a local retailer had with a cancer charity. They've actually partnered with them now for 10 years. And they don't just give money, they mentor them throughout. So there's a much more strategic partnership there. But what's interesting is not only have they donated millions of pounds to this charity through fundraising and different things, but their customers who shop in the general stores now associate the store with supporting an issue that's very important to a lot of people. And that's a very good example. Another example is an organisation that we work with again at home who has partnered with a mentoring civil society organisation who try to help young people set up their own businesses and become entrepreneurs. So we're seeing some businesses sharing their skills and expertise with young people who otherwise at the moment would not find employment, but are now setting up their own businesses and becoming successful business people. So it's great for everyone.
Can we say, for example, that sometimes if there is such a thing, that the definition of the CSR has some borders, some margins, for example? When does the when it's too much CSR?
Never.
Never?
Never. But what it entails will shift. So, as you know, 10 years ago, to think about recycling would have been a big CSR activity. Now lots of organisations, or many, will naturally recycle. It's become part of their everyday business. But new issues, new societal challenges come onto the agenda. So CSR always shifts in what it looks like and the types of activities and issues that organisations should be thinking about. But can you ever have too much CSR? As long as it's not a complete waste of the organisation's resources, then no.
This can be an odd question.
Okay,
The
I like
next
odd
one,
questions.
before the last.
Okay.
Nowadays, when everything is about good PR and for everyone, even for the companies and even for the governments, can we say that the governments also do some social responsibility projects? If we see them as a corporation, for example.
Okay. Well,
We can't define them as a corporation, but we can.
but they're an employer.
Yes.
I
So can governments do CSR?
Yes, they can. They can be a responsible employer. Interestingly, that's a much bigger challenge. Personally speaking, I speak from a Northern Ireland context. Obviously, the Macedonian context may be slightly different. The government want businesses to do it, but they often need some challenging to realise that they themselves are an important employer, that they can be responsible to their workforce, that their environmental impact and their environmental footprint is quite sizable. So there's an obligation for them to think about this as well.
Okay. And the last question. We
Okay.
won't take so much of your time because I know you're tired because of
Oh no,
everything
it's
you've
a
done
pleasure.
today.
It's exciting. It's great for me.
Thank you very much for taking the time for this interview.
Well, thank you.
Would you share at the end with us some useful tips and tricks for the companies that they can use when planning a CSR project, for example?
Okay, it's back to that win-win piece. For the civil society organisations that are approaching organisations to think about a CSR piece, I would say think about the business's aims and objectives and how you can make sure that you help them meet some of those or help them address some of the challenges that they're having as a business, and vice versa, for the businesses to think about what can we do that's going to address a social issue but that also somewhere is going to help us as a business, whether that be our bottom line in terms of profit, whether it be developing our people, reducing the resources that we use. So it's always about thinking about that win-win. Get the buy-in from the top, make sure the leaders bought in, get the champions across the organisation to drive activity across different employees, and try and communicate.
Great. I will learn that lesson. And just one question, it came now. Can we say that we can take those tips and tricks that you do, for example, in Northern Ireland, and implement them here in Macedonia?
Without doubt. I started today's session with the businesses with the amount of similarities that we have between Northern Ireland and Macedonia. I think sometimes because we're quite close to London, people think we have London money. We don't. We've got a very similar population. Over 90% of our businesses employ less than 10 people. You know, about 70% of our GDP is driven through public sector. It's very, very similar. So we have come a long journey within business in the community in my employer. We've been working at this for over 25 years. And we have started from a blank page and taken it to where it is now. And I hope that we're able to share some experiences and to help drive the CSR agenda here. But equally, I'm learning a lot too. And it's going to be relevant for me to be able to take that back to Northern Ireland as well.
I'm so glad about that.
Good.
Госпоѓо Мекилвена, јас ви благодарам за ова интервју кое што ни го овозможивте да го направиме со вас за 24 Вести телевизија.
Thank you for your time.
And I wish you a pleasant stay here in Macedonia.
Thank you. I'm having a fantastic time here. You have a
See you
beautiful
soon.
country. See you soon.
See you soon. Great.
Thank you.
Почитувани гледачи, тоа е се што можевме да ви понудиме токму во ова издание на 24 за животот. Јас се надевам дека уживавте и можеби добивте малку повеќе идеја за тоа што впрочем представува општествената одговорност на корпорациите, компаниите или фирмите како што сакаме да ги нарекуваме тука во Република Македонија. Ке направиме и други емисии токму за оваа тема, се разбира доколку и се појави интерес од ваша страна. Јас ви благодарам за вниманието и пријатно.